Hello and welcome to another episode on my channel. It's another really warm day today. We've been complaining about the rain and the cold for a while, and then nature has decided to bamboozle us with with the hot weather. So here I am in my, you know, as decent as I can be in a hot weather. So what I want to talk about today is it is not as difficult as you think it is, whatever that is. So let me try to put it in perspective. I'll use an analogy. Apart from being a taekwondo coach or an instructor with taekwondo as a side hustle, I also DJ. Or I used to DJ before the pandemic. Ever since the pandemic hit, I haven't gotten back into the swing of it. But you see, when I was learning to DJ a few years ago, I was always impressed before I actually started learning to DJ. I was always impressed with the DJs, the way they get to mix this music and what they call beat matching, and they match the beat, and when this song is ending the other one is picking, and so if they're very good at it, it's kind of seamless, a seamless transition from one song to another. And then there are DJs that are pretty good as well, that can just flow from one genre of song to another with different beats per minute, and they're always touching the knob and mixing this, and I'm always looking at them like this thing must be incredibly difficult, because I can't play any musical instruments. I can dance to the beat. I can move my body to the beat, any kind of beat, but I can't play any musical instruments. And the fact that DJs are mixing all different kind of songs, to me, it's like they must have some. This thing must be inborn. And I started growing older, and I wasn't loving the mixes DJs were doing. And at some stage, I was like, I'm going to learn to DJ as well. So I reached out to. There was an academy that was teaching how to DJ, I think for 2, 3 weeks or so, and I took up that course, and they showed us the fundamentals, baby scratch. Obviously, that's not enough. You have to go home to practice yourself. And then I reached out to a fellow DJ here in Ireland. He's one of the first black DJs in the Republic of Ireland. He's called DJ Lee. DJ Lee, if you're listening to this, or if anybody knows DJ Lee and is listening to this, hats off to you. DJ Lee then gave me the fine tuning and all the other things that I needed. And then lots of practice, it got to a point it was a bit boring to me. It became a bit boring. And then I asked Lee, I said, is this all there is to it? Because now I'm not saying that I'm a super good DJ that can do all kinds of tricks. I'm still at the basics, the fundamentals, but I'm good enough to play in a club and get people. I've been playing in clubs to get people moving, but I don't do anything too complex. But if you don't have any idea, you think it's really way more difficult than it is. So I asked DJ Lee, I'm like, what is it that these DJs are always doing, where the switching, the transition into another song, everybody goes, hey, goes wild in the club, and then they're touching this knob, they're touching this volume, they're moving this, and they're always touching something. And he said, 85% of the time, they're not doing anything. They're just touching it. And I'm like, so why are they touching it? He said, because it makes it look impressive. And I thought, wow, because I switch into another song and I know the next song that I'm gonna put in, and I'm waiting for that dancing with the people. But while I'm dancing, I notice the other DJs, they don't dance or sing along or whatever. They have the earphones here, they're touching this, they're doing that. So it was all demonstration. 85% of the time they're doing nothing. And when you're looking at it, you'd be like, this must be complex, because that was what I thought. The same with Wall Street. Investing. Now you don't have to be an investor. Like, there are different types of scratches. You don't even have to know how to scratch as a DJ to be a good DJ. You can be a club DJ, you can be a radio DJ, there are all kinds of DJs. But even if baby scratch is the only one you know, and you know how to beat match, just basics. You can DJ at a standard level anywhere in the world. But then of course there are advanced DJs that can perform miracles on the controls. But you don't need to be that good. And I took that same school of thought, and I put it in my investing. I've been investing for, I started learning to invest in 2014, and we're in 2023. So it's close to 10 years. And I'm noticing that it's pretty simple for me now. I spend about 5 minutes a day just look at my positions and see if I have to adjust anything. 5 minutes a day. And if I do have to adjust something, it doesn't take me more than 15 minutes because I already have my strategy planned out before I got into the trade anyway. But when you people who don't know anything about the stock market, they are terrified of it. They're like, what if it drops? But you see, I don't care if it drops because I know exactly what to do if the market drops. It doesn't affect me one bit. In fact, it could work in my favor. So if there's something you want, basically the reason I'm making this video is to encourage you. If there's anything you want to do, anything you want to learn, know that it is not as difficult as you make it out to be in your head. It truly isn't. But what you need to do, you need to follow the right steps. So let me see if I can outline the right steps, which is one of the mistakes I made in my early years is I went the wrong step. Either most people go the wrong step and then give up. If you don't give up, you'll eventually find the right step. Let me use this happened to me and somebody, another person this happened to that testified to this was Andy Tanner of Rich Dad Poor Dad. He's the stocks advisor for Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And he said they read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they were like, okay, we're ready to go out and make these investments and buy properties and whatnot. But they failed. They couldn't find a property, and it wasn't successful at all. So they went back to the book. They're like, what are we missing? He and his wife. And they said, okay, let's read the book again. Maybe we'll find something we're missing. And as they sat down or laid down to read the book, she was like, okay, I got it. This was Andy Tanner's testimony himself. So I'm just plagiarizing or whatever you want to say. I'm just quoting him. And she said, we got the first part of the equation. We got a poor dad. What we don't have is the rich dad. So the clue to the solution to the problem is in the title of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I was the same. I went into Forex. I went into so many other endeavors that didn't quite turn out to be what I wanted it to be. But then if you follow my videos, you see a video I made just some time ago where I talked about how I got into stocks. It was the same. I had to find a coach. I had to find a mentor. Even if we were not in direct communication, I had to follow them, follow their advice, follow their strategy, follow their channels, look for easier ways to do things. Still a bit of trial and error. Still took me some time, which might not have been that long if I was in direct communication with them. But because I was in close, I was watching them closely. It cut away a whole lot of mistakes I would have made, and that has helped me to be where I am today. And this also applies in my own personal life. So my father was a civil servant, pretty high position at the time as a civil servant in Nigeria. And my mom was more of a hustler. So she had all kinds of businesses from buying and selling cars, buying and selling gold. She had a quarry, along with my father, but it was her idea. He had a quarry where, if you know what a quarry is, they grind stones for construction, gravels, chippings, and all that. And then had a guest inn, a hotel, and she was more of a hustler than an employee. But this is how it turned out. Daddy was well paid, so he was pretty comfortable. Mommy was a hustler, she was well paid as well. But as they were getting older, Daddy didn't have, how do I put it, the enough finance to live an extravagant life because now he's a pensioner. Mommy, on the other hand, her wealth was increasing and she could afford, she would spend a month in Dubai, a week in London, 3 weeks in Dublin. Like she could be all over the place because she had a system set up that she doesn't need to physically be working at any of those, just phone calls to the managers or whatever, and she's good. So in my case, I would say rich dad, I would say poor dad, rich mom, or rich mom, poor dad, or however you want to see, you want to put it. But basically, there are two people whose lives, whose financial lives were on two different paths, and I saw how that played out. And it's the same with most employees I see today. It's playing out. Everybody's going to become a pensioner at some stage. So I thought to myself, why don't I combine the two? I'm an employee and investing at the same time. I just got back from London last night, and the flight to London was free because I get complimentary flight tickets to most countries in Europe from Aer Lingus as an Air Club member. And the hotel that I stayed at the Hilton Hotel. I paid for it from some cash that I made from stocks. So I cash flowed. Which stock was it? I cash flowed. No, there wasn't a stock. It was a stock, but it was gold stock. So GLD was the one that I cash flowed to pay for the hotel. So it wasn't any money out of my pocket. And basically, this is how I think most people want to live their lives, but they don't know how to do it. So I'll just leave that with you now. It's 10 minutes and I don't want this video to be longer than it should. Enjoy the rest of the day. See you in the next one.